Hello again, everybody.
I can't believe you
It is a Facebook Live Friday. Brian Milam and Dave Baker. We have this baseball connection, the Harry Carey thing, and he said, you ought to say hello, everybody. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to Facebook Live Friday, sponsored by Bluegrass Orthopedics in Georgetown, Hamburg, and on Richmond Road. 3 locations, and great people over there. I got to know them 3 years ago.
Yep.
And it has been a pretty good relationship since, and they are our sponsor for Facebook Live.
And we appreciate it.
Oh, very much so. It's been a pretty busy week, and we're just going to jump right into it because our resident lawyer, WKYT lawyer, Buzz Baker, you know some of the ins and outs, the language of the new John Calipari lifetime contract, 10-year deal worth $86 million.
It's interesting because I think it'll be a lifetime deal in the fact that it'll take him through the end of his coaching career.
Right.
But what it is, basically, it's like a 5-year extension. And the interesting thing, the money's obviously there, and that's all. And you can see the whole contract on WKYT.com. But basically what happens is I think it's in 2024.
Right.
Okay, so by mid-April of 2024, Cal has to, he doesn't have to, but if he chooses to, he can inform the university that he no longer wants to coach, and then he'll be a special assistant to the athletics director, helping with fundraising and all that sort of stuff, raising the university's profile, and he could do that along with benefits and pay to about $1 million a year for basically as long as he wants. So what it does is it gives him security, it gives the university security. It's really interesting, a couple things in there. One of the things we've heard Cal talk about ever since he's been here, they didn't bring me here to win SEC championships and everything.
That's right.
There are none of those incentives in the contract. The only incentive that is in the contract is if that average graduation rate, that APR, if that is above a certain number. Other than that, no bonus for winning the SEC or a national championship or anything like that. No buyout in the contract, so he can come and go as he please. And I think it's obviously the university's response to the interest on the part of UCLA. The other thing that's interesting, though, is I think, Brian, that there's probably some Will Wade language in there. And remember, this was agreed to before the end of the season, but it didn't get signed until yesterday, right before Cal and Joel Justice hit the road to go recruiting. But there is some very specific language in there about things that may or may not happen as it relates to NCAA investigations, what happens if you're suspended, and it's just like, this would have never been in there if it hadn't been for the Will Wade thing. And that's not a reflection of Cal, but it says, acts of misconduct including, but not limited to, conviction of a felony or finding that the coach at any time materially violated NCAA or SEC bylaws, rulings, or regs, yada, 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 if committed by any personnel. Did the coach know? Should he have known? It's all that sort of stuff, and I think that's certainly protection for Cal and protection for the university as well.
Well, I think, in my opinion, when you look at that contract, that language you just mentioned, for me, that's what I call the common sense part of the contract. You don't do this, you don't do this wrong, don't do, that part. But $86 million, $8 million over the next 2 years, and then it jumps to $8.5 million for 4 years, $9 million for the 4 years after that. And Cal mentioned it yesterday, this is the only place he wants to be.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, with the loss to Auburn in the region final, the UCLA rumors that were flying everywhere while everyone was in Kansas City. And but this is the best way. I mean, he's been here 10 years, getting ready to start year 11. And you finish out what you start. And if Cal can stay another decade and still have the success that he has had, I mean, this is one for the books. If he can continue to put these NBA guys, and I know there are the hardline UK fans, what about the national championships? We're tired of going to the Final Four or losing in the region final.
Think about that. We're tired of going to the Final Four.
And there are some people that don't even get there in a decade, just to the tournament.
That's where you go to the Wikipedia entry, and it says, see Billy Gillispie. Right? I mean, seriously.
He's the national JUCO coach of the year.
Right, and we're glad he's healthy and everything again now. And listen, I never had a bad experience with, but a lot of people forget where this program, and you know what? There are a lot of young fans that really don't remember where this program was
that's exactly
before that. And so that's part of it as well. The other interesting thing I thought was tickets in the contract. He gets 20 for each game, home, away, tournament. It says 20 prime lower arena seats, and he's got the option to purchase 20 more. And it's really interesting to see what coaches do with tickets. Joe B, at the time Joe B walked away, had like north of like 300 or so maybe pairs. And because of that, Rick Pitino had 4 when he was. Now, I'm sure he could get more, right? I mean, I'm sure you go to the AD.
Well, that's what happens when you're a Kentucky guy coaching Kentucky basketball.
Right. But it's it's really interesting. And then Brian, all of this comes on the heels of the fact the Dennis Dodd report on CBSSports.com that actually quoted a guy, not a source, but quoted a senior executive with the NCAA as saying there were 6 programs that were going to get allegations of level 1 violations this summer.
And 3 of those mentioned in the article, not confirmed, but you have to think where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire, or in this case, possibly a lot of fire. They mentioned Kansas, mentioned Louisville, and Arizona. And those were 3 of the headline programs, which we have seen over the last several years, like Louisville, which got hammered in certain areas. Arizona, Kansas, there's been a lot of speculation. You know, the FBI comes in and does this. Sean Miller somehow keeps his job in a world where you don't keep your job if there is a hint of wrongdoing.
Well, and the other thing that happened too is a couple of those schools, I want to say certainly Louisville and I believe Kansas, because Jeff Long, the former AD at EKU, who's now at Kansas, addressed this. At least 2 of those schools have admitted that they have gotten correspondence from the NCAA saying that this was going on. The other, and of course Louisville, I mean, they could be eligible for the big one if they get hit with a level 1 violation, because it would have been a violation that occurred while they were still on probation for all of the Katina Powell stuff. The other one that's really just kind of fascinating too is where in the world will this impact or touch Will Wade? That's the one everybody seems to be waiting on.
You know, Will Wade, the LSU basketball coach, his finest hour coming in Rupp Arena. And then I just kept thinking, if everybody remembers the tip-in, which should not have counted.
Which they changed the rule on last week, which can now be reviewed.
It's the Kentucky effect.
Right. Just like in the Final Four against Wisconsin when they changed that rule, right?
Everything deals with John Calipari in Kentucky. But Will Wade and LSU, they got the tip-in and beat the Cats. The only thing I kept thinking about as I stared at him on the podium was, how much longer are you going to be the coach? When the FBI, the wire tappings come out, the audio cassettes, the whatever they've got.
And I thought it was a strong blank offer, is what he said on tape, right?
Well, I didn't say that.
Right.
But he holds on to his job. I mean, and if there is a man who can hold on to his job the way Will Wade has at the moment, that is spectacular to me.
Again, we started off talking about contract. Here's the thing with the Will Wade contract. Of course, Joe Oliva brought him back, and they amended the contract. Joe Oliva was canned as the athletics director shortly after that. They brought a Louisiana guy in Scott Woodward back to be the AD, and I believe Will Wade's contract now has language in it that says if there's an NCAA investigation, that's grounds for them to make a move and to do it without being on the hook for the rest of the contract. So this may have just been, as you talked about, some good lawyering on the part of LSU, and they're going to save themselves a bunch of money.
No question about it. NBA draft is coming up. The NBA Finals completed last night. Toronto winning the NBA championship over Golden State, and on the way home last night, I mentioned to Lee K. Howard, I said, I want to see how long it takes the national media, the apologists for the Warriors, to say, well, they probably wouldn't have won had there been a healthy Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. I did not get to the second red light on Winchester Road until they started happening. And I mean, I've never seen such bad luck hit a perennial power the way the Warriors have been. And
you forgot about DeMarcus Cousins not being there for 45 days.
Well, yeah, but DeMarcus, he stepped up as best he could in the finals, but to have Klay Thompson go down with an ACL tear, Kevin Durant with a ruptured Achilles, I'm thinking Steph Curry's like, hey, I don't want the ball. Somebody else.
Who is it? The loony guy? They lost him.
Yeah,
he was playing with like a broken collarbone or something like that.
And they still went 6 games, but I swear to you, I did not get 2 red lights down Winchester Road before they started.
But here's the thing from a Kentucky standpoint that I don't know that anybody has said yet or not. But I mean, I wondered how Dwayne Casey was feeling this morning.
I thought the same. Sam Dick and I mentioned the same thing.
I mean, that guy was Coach of the Year last year, okay? And he didn't have no Kawhi Leonard, right? Or did he have him for part of the year?
He did not. No, he was with the Spurs.
Right. So, I mean, was it Dwayne Casey's fault that they didn't have?
Heck no.
I mean, but all credit to Nick Nurse.
Want to thank everybody who is on Facebook Live giving us a shout, from Clay County to Pike County, Paris, places in between.
Come on.
The state softball tournament's going on right now, and that guy's going to have the call of one of the games, or two of the games tonight, I guess. Which one?
Tomorrow. We'll be doing the semifinals and the finals.
Got the semifinals and finals, and the state baseball championship completed this past weekend at Whitaker Bank Ballpark for the first time since 1986. Tate's Creek wins a state baseball championship, and the only two people I know of or truly know from that 86 team, Kevin Jarvis.
Yes.
Pitched Major League Baseball.
Yes.
And a certain pinch runner who is a pretty good basketball coach, an excellent golf coach.
Who would tell you that he should have played more, right?
Brian Lane, who they graduated, hopped on a plane to get to E-Town, I believe, if I read that correctly.
Right.
They won the state title 33 years ago. But congratulations to Tate's Creek winning a championship. They are not easy to come by, and the first by Lexington Public School, I believe, if I'm just going off the top of my head, since Dunbar. Since Dunbar. And, Catholic has done it, LCA has done it.
Sure.
And Trinity was in the semifinals. Trinity, you think of Trinity, you think of titles. They have yet to win a baseball state championship.
How about that? One of the things that to bring up about that is Jarvis, of course, he played professionally for a little while and then moved down to Nashville, where he works in the scouting business. His son was pitching just last weekend. Duke came up a little bit short in terms of getting to the College World Series, but his son is a really good pitcher as well.
I love baseball. You know what? We talk about pitchers, and
come on,
and Dave Baker came up with these just for the entertainment value. He brings these out, the Wild Thing.
Fellas,
glasses,
can you see these like on a close-up? Do the close-up on Brian and not on me, but I mean, right? I mean, because Ricky.
Well, the original Wild Thing, Ricky
Vaughn, right?
I mean,
look at that. I mean, the skull and crossbones glasses, because he was the Wild Thing, and right there is the Wild Thing right there. I mean, we see him in these hats pulled down over the head, out at the state baseball and everything. And
I want that hitter to see my eyes.
Yeah, nothing would be more appropriate than that, right? I mean,
these are great. He came up with these the other day, and I love baseball, as many of you know.
Come on, let's go.
And
let's play two.
Major League Baseball 2 was not as good as Major League Baseball 1.
But what two besides?
Two
besides The Godfather was as good as 1? Rocky 2, maybe.
I will take. Okay, since we're getting off topic for a minute, and I like getting off topic, the best sequels that I ever watched.
Okay.
We have The Godfather. Mm-hmm. You've got Rocky, obviously. The Star Wars, the first 3, not 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever else they got. And Indiana Jones, not the second, but at least the third of the 3 before they went millennial with the new millennium and all of this stuff. But the 80s movies, man.
Tough to differentiate between any of the Die Hard movies. They were all classics, right?
I never got into
the Die Hard movies.
Were all Bruce. Man.
Oh, come on.
Just did not.
I think great movies. And then, of course, the Fast and Furious movies were all great, too.
See, I'm just not fast and I'm not furious anymore. So,
occasionally.
Yeah, anyway. But want to say thank you to those who have been following here on Facebook Live. Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and we're going to keep doing this for as long as you want. Floyd County is in the house. Tollsboro,
come on,
saying hello, and there's a lot of I have a lot of mountain roots. So do you. And there's a lot of people from Eastern Kentucky that watch this program on Fridays.
We like that.
They must have a 15-minute, 20-minute lunch break.
Or they can schedule it that way because they know it's coming at the same time every Friday, right?
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's good, wholesome family fun.
Last thing, and I saw this on the internet yesterday, 24/7 Sports, and talking about the upcoming UK football season, SEC football season. UK has lost a lot of players to the draft and to graduation, whatnot. They only had the Cats at 6-6.
Yeah, interesting.
2-6 in the conference, and I just thought that that's a little. I don't know. What are your thoughts about after losing so much and having so much?
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. I think a lot of people are saying, "Show me what you got." I think we see that the recruiting has gotten better and better and better, and so there are better players that are going to be able to step up. But to the outside world, they haven't seen that yet. And when you lose, I mean, when it's a one of a kind year for Kentucky in terms of 8 guys in the draft, I don't think that's unfair. I don't know that it'll be 6-6, but I think it's not an outlandish prediction until you see who those pieces are that Mark Stoops is going to try to fit in there.
And there's a lot of question marks, no doubt. The 24/7 saying that Kentucky would beat Vandy and Arkansas as the only 2 football games they would win in the conference this year. Vince Marrow was also talking about Terry Touchdown, saying that he was also ranked by 24/7 and some others the worst quarterback.
Yep, you're right.
In the conference. So you talk about putting some billboard material. Right. If that really motivates teams and players, I think UK has got plenty of motivation coming in to this upcoming season, and it will be here Labor Day weekend officially, and looking forward to it. I think it's going
to be fun.
There's going to be some night games in the first couple of weeks also. Love night games.
And for those of you scoring at home, this week Georgia has said they will not have beer and wine sales at Sanford Stadium, and Texas A&M the other day, I guess it was yesterday, said they would in fact sell beer and wine at Kyle Field. UK still taking a look at the situation and analyzing it, and they have not announced what they will do yet.
That will do it for this Friday afternoon, Facebook Live Friday. Thanks again to Bluegrass Orthopedics. You can visit their website at bluegrassortho.com. For Dave Baker, I'm Brian Milam. We will see you next week on a WKYT Facebook Live Friday.